I realized my original approach was probably not the best, so rerouting. If you would like me to talk about anything specific, you can put it in the chat and be like, hey, you should talk about, I don't know, vulnerability, relationships, or whatever. I do, like, I don't know. I was talking about rejection in the last live, and I was like, you know, I felt like I was being rejected because nobody was really engaging. But once again, I feel like sometimes rejection is necessary for finding where you need to be, because there are certain things that just wouldn't happen if you just got everything that you wanted when you wanted it. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, I hope you're having a nice day. I hope you're having a nice evening. I hope you're hydrating and all that stuff. Got some water here. And yeah, let me know if there's anything that you want me to talk about specifically. If there's anything I can think of as I flow, then I'll flow with it. There's this book I've been reading, Real Life Love. I like this book so much. I'm not finished. I'm like halfway through. Oh, I'm like halfway through. Less than halfway through, actually. And I think it's a really good book. It's kind of Christian centered. You wouldn't know that by looking at the cover, but it does have a little bit of a Christian undertone, which is not terrible. Mind, body, spirit, you know. But yeah, it talks about relationships, friendships, and all that. It's not just romantic relationships. And I don't know, when I originally, because I did conceptualize doing this before, and when I first conceptualized this, like, I thought about the first thing that I talked about being love and stuff like that. And so, like, you know, and I've made videos about love before. I don't know. In theory, if somebody wanted to like hop on, oh, this is a green screen. Oh goodness, it is terrifying. Why does it look like that? This is a page from the book, I guess. Once again, it's kind of Christian centered. Occasionally, it has like Bible verses, which is okay. Welcome to the person joining. I don't know, but hello. Hope you're having a nice evening. I'm just kind of talking. If there's anything you want me to talk about, you can ask. But yeah, this book is called Real Life Love. I'm gonna show again. It's really good. I think it's really good. I'm like less than halfway through, and yeah. If you have any book recommendations, you can put that in the chat too. That'd be cool. Hey Tracy, hello, hello. I think love is something that is very complicated. It's very abstract, and it's also something that, like, I don't know, a lot of people like look at it as painful, which it can be, especially when you're dealing with people who have not done the inner work, if you will. Hey David, hey Tracy, what's up, what's up? And unfortunately, a lot of people in this world don't work on themselves, like aren't working on themselves. And it's not to be judgmental, it's not to say it in a like negative aspect, but it just is what it is. A lot of people are just walking around with trauma and wounds wide open, you know, vomiting metaphorically on other people. That's a gross way to say that, but vomiting, bleeding, ew. Could you imagine at the same time? I recently hit my eyeball and it hurt so much. It was like so bad, and it triggered a nosebleed. And so my eye was like, I was crying, like there were tears and there was blood, and like it was a lot. And I can't imagine vomiting and also bleeding at the same time. That'd be terrifying. What are those emojis that you sent me, David? I don't know what those emojis are, but that is so cute. But you know, love is crazy. Like, you really gotta put yourself out there. You really gotta, you know, feel like an idiot sometimes if you wanna experience love, you know, genuine love, you know, which is not easy to do. It's not easy to be vulnerable. It's not easy to, I mean, for some people maybe, but, you know, generally it's not an easy thing to do when you're not used to doing it, you know. Okay. Once again, if anybody wants me to talk about anything in particular, you're welcome to ask. I'm just kind of flowing. I'm just kind of talking about whatever makes sense. So I'm going to read this line real quick. Go ahead and be angry. You do well to be angry. But don't use your anger as fuel for revenge. And don't stay angry. Don't go to bed angry. Don't give the devil that kind of foothold in your life. Ephesians 4:26 to 27. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Like, anger is a natural part of the experience, but it's like, what do you do with that feeling? Like, often when I find myself getting angry, I like turn to writing, I turn to like making content, because it's an energy and it's very powerful, and you know, it might be helpful to someone else. You know what I mean? Oh, David, I don't know you from a can of paint, but your comments are interesting, at the least. I don't know why you removed the emojis. I thought the emojis were cute, but I don't know. Um, but you know, and I was talking about rejection recently. Like, feeling rejected, being rejected, is a necessary part of finding success in whatever aspect of life we're talking about. Whether we're talking about love, whether we're talking about career, whether we're talking about money, like, it's really necessary to go through rejection at some point. Like, it's not fun, it's not pleasant usually, but if you can learn how to deal with it, if you can learn how to embrace it, you know, like, it's not funny. I think it's funny, but sometimes when I get rejected, like, my go-to is just to laugh. And so sometimes people will, like, I don't know, try to make me feel bad or whatever. Like, people would be like, you're weird, and I'll just laugh. I'll be like, like, okay, like, okay, thanks. You know, like, I had this one dude literally recently. He was like, "You're a fucking weirdo," and I was like, I didn't know what else to do but laugh. I was just like, "LOL, okay." Um, I don't know. I don't know how he felt about that, but like, I don't know. We had a relatively decent rapport after that. You know, I'm not necessarily recommending that everybody laughs at rejection, but, you know, if you can find a way to cope with it without also hurting anybody else, you know, that would be the most ideal thing to do, you know. But I digress. In theory, once again, if anybody wanted to join and like share their perspective, in theory that could happen. I don't think I have invitations open right now. I'm still kind of getting used to this platform, so bear with me. But once again, if anybody wants me to talk about anything specific, I almost said Pacific. That, it's not, I don't mean to like make fun of like people who don't speak language properly, but one thing I think is so funny and irritating is when people say Pacific instead of specific. Like, I get it, it's very similar, but it's like, those are two different concepts. One of them is an ocean, and one of them means something else. You know, like, but I also have a lot of Virgo in my chart, so I'm kind of crazy with like semantics and stuff, analyzation. Me being up here feels like a big rejection. The way that people are just coming in and leaving, like, why don't you like me? You know? Once again, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're hydrating, taking care of your body, you know, being nice to yourself before anyone else. You know what I mean? What else could I talk about? I don't know. I could talk about, since I was talking about like, rejection, I could talk about acceptance, self-acceptance, and why it's so important. Like, I don't know, I feel like concepts like these are very cheesy to the average unhealed person, but it's really necessary. Like, if you genuinely want to, like, have a fulfilled life, like, you have to be able to accept yourself. You have to be able to love yourself, you know? And that means the good, the bad, the ugly, you know what I mean? Like, being able to look at yourself and being like, I know I'm not perfect, and I know sometimes I might do some stupid things, but I accept myself as I am, you know? And that's the way to self-love, you know? You have to accept yourself before you can love yourself. I mean, not necessarily, you don't have to, I mean, like, there are no real rules to this, but it is necessary to accept yourself before you love yourself. And I don't know, recently there was a conversation about, like, love and like the difference between loving someone and liking someone. And it's like, you don't have to like someone to love someone. Like, I feel like a lot of times we dislike people and we're like, oh, well, I don't, how can I love them? And it's like, love is more of an action, it's more of a verb, it's more of a how you treat someone. You know, liking someone is a feeling. Like, you can like someone and not love them. You can like someone and also treat them really poorly, you know what I mean? You can also love someone and treat them really poorly. But, you know, if anybody wants to chime in, you're welcome to. Once again, I'm just kind of flowing, we're just kind of talking. So, you know, I mean, because I like to believe that, like Christ, I love everyone. Like, I have love for everybody, but I do not like everyone. There are people that I dislike very much, but that doesn't mean that I don't still care for them and want the best for them, you know. And it talks about it in this book a lot, you know, Christ-like love and being of that energy. And it's not the easiest. Like, I feel like there are people out there who make it really hard to want to be loving and stuff. Like, there are definitely people, I've written about it in my ebook. I have an ebook out, and I've written about it in there, like the unloved people, or the unlovables, or whatever, the wicked, quote unquote. You know, the people who are just really hard to deal with, people who are really, you know, stuck in their ways and like choose hate over love or choose fear over love or whatever. Like, these people can be very difficult to deal with, but like, at least in my personal experience, I feel like learning to love these people, learning to still care for these people is a big sign of spiritual maturity. I've made videos about spiritual maturity before, like how to know if you are spiritually mature. And part of that is like having Christ-like love, like being able to love despite someone's, like, you know, poor behaviors, you know. And it doesn't mean tolerance. That doesn't mean that you should tolerate certain behaviors, but like at the least still caring for them and still wanting the best for them is what I mean. And when I say not tolerating, I mean like you can set boundaries. You can be like, okay, I'm not gonna talk to you if you X, Y, and Z. I'm not gonna like entertain this if you continue to do X, Y, and Z. But you know, in your mind, in your heart of hearts, you can still love them from a distance and be like, you know, I send you love, I wish you love, I wish you the best, but also not at my expense, you know. I wrote a lyric saying that, I think it's True Colors. It's like from a year or two ago, and it's like, I wish you the best, but not at my expense, you know. And it's like that's how it should go. Like, you shouldn't necessarily drain yourself to, or what is it? You shouldn't set yourself on fire to like keep others warm, but at the same time, maybe still wish that they were warm, you know. But I digress. That is just the Christ way, I guess. For those joining, I'm just kind of flowing. If you want to chime in, you're welcome to. If you want to suggest a subject for me to talk about, you're welcome to put it in the chat. If you want to just hang out, if you want to just listen, that's cool too. But yeah, love. It's crazy subject. What if I pulled a card to see what should I talk about next? I'm gonna pull a card from the Soul's Journey deck. See what comes through. Infinite Spirit. What can we talk about? Give me a subject. Growth. Growth. Also, doubt was at the bottom of the deck. Growth. I want to expand my consciousness and my awareness. One thing about growth is that it is not comfortable. It is not something that is fun. Like, even if you're a daredevil, it's, well, I feel like for people who like the adrenaline, who like the thrill, it might be a little bit fun being uncomfortable. But generally, growth is something that brings discomfort. Like, think of a plant, or when you get the hiccups. The hiccups are technically a sign that you are growing physically. And it's not comfortable. It's not comfortable to have hiccups. Like, the last time I had hiccups, I was very annoyed. But it's a sign of growth. It's a sign that your body is expanding in different ways. I feel like I want to look up the spiritual meaning of hiccups. If there is a spiritual meaning, I'll do that later. I'll remember that. Anyways, growth, evolution is not something that is like a smooth ride. Like, it is something that you have to be motivated to do. It is something that you have to be determined with, persistent, like, I've had moments where I advanced quite a lot, and then I was like, the doubt energy, once again, I doubted myself, and I was like, okay, let's take a couple steps back. And I don't think that's inherently bad, but once again, growth is something that you have to continuously work at. For example, because I low-key have / had a fear of singing in front of other people. I know I have a good voice. I know I have a good singing voice. Don't get me wrong. There's no logical reason for me to be afraid of singing in front of others, but I've developed a fear of singing in front of others. And recently, I kind of some of that anxiety kind of went away. I prayed away. I believe I prayed it away. But regardless of why it went away, I don't feel that fear as much. And it was a growth thing. It was me having to be uncomfortable with singing in front of others. I would put myself in situations where I would just I would hum, or I would sing really softly in front of others. And I don't know, back to the rejection thing, I felt rejected. I felt I was being shunned, I was being exiled, because nobody would respond. I would just sing a little tune, and people would just try to pretend I wasn't there. And it's well, I'm not doing this for you, so I don't really care how you respond. I'm doing this for me. And that's also part of the rejection thing that I was talking about earlier. Sometimes you have to realize, you're not asking the girl out. Well, when you're on the road to success, you do have to do things for yourself. You have to be willing to get rejected and realize that you're doing it for yourself. If you put yourself out there and nobody takes the bait, you're doing it to build yourself, not for the approval of others. You should never make a move for the approval of others. You should never be I thought about this the other day when I was in rehab. The way that I dress, I feel like I have relatively good style. And the way that I dress because I was thinking video game character. If I were to wear something in a video game, I'm wearing it because I think it looks cool, not for the approval of the other characters. I don't care what the other characters say. I'm wearing it because I think it looks cool, and when I look at my body, when I look down, it's oh, those are cool pants, or that's a cool shirt, This is a regular shirt. In the back it has Hulk, but yeah, you should be doing it for yourself. And if you get rejected in the process, okay, it just means those people aren't for you. It just means those people aren't on the same wavelength as you, you know what I mean? And that shouldn't be a reason for you to doubt yourself. Sure, it's okay to get into doubt sometimes, but, self-confidence. Oh, literally, I was talking about acceptance. That's funny, because we have the acceptance card. I am learning to accept the things that I cannot change. I feel good when I can help others, which is the service card. And then failure, literally the rejection energy. Like, part of getting into the energy of acceptance is realizing that not everybody is going to accept you. Like, there are going to be people who actively shun you and actively cast you aside. But for agreements, never take anything personal, always do your best, make your word impeccable, never make assumptions. And the never take anything personal part is really important because everybody's just living their own story, everybody's just doing their own thing, you know? Like, even if somebody were to walk up to you and slap you or like rob you, it has nothing to do with you or your, like, I mean, it has a little bit to do with your energy, but like, it's because they are doing their own story and they feel like they're the part of the story where they had to rob somebody or they had to like prove their strength, you know what I mean? And it might be silly, but it's like all you can do is protect yourself, all you can do is respond, all you can do is, you know what I mean? Like, there are things you can do to prevent certain things, sure, but at the end of the day, it's like everyone, like, there's like 8 billion people on this planet. Some of us are very conscious, some of us are not, but like all you can really do is like do what you do. You can't necessarily expect other people, I mean, you can, but I don't think it's a good idea to like expect other people to behave a certain way or expect other people to be a certain way. Like, just, you know, you can want it, you can ask people to be a certain way, but like at the end of the day, people are going to do what they do, you know. Recently I got into contact with a friend, and like a friend that I had cut off for very specific reasons, and I don't know, some of the reasons that I did it resurfaced. And I will be transparent, like the biggest reason that I contacted this friend was so that I could get a favor done. But, you know, I pride myself on trying to be a good friend. So it's not like I was just like, oh, let me use you and then like, whatever, like, you know. I considered that. I feel like that was a possibility that I could have done. I could have just used him for what I needed and then just said deuces, because once again, the reasons why I cut him off were very specific and very valid. And those reasons came back up as we've been in contact again. And I had to really sit with myself and be like, you know what, like, I don't, you know, I don't have many friends to begin with. And it's like, sometimes you really do just have to accept someone as they are. Now, I'm not saying that you should tolerate toxic behavior, but at the same time, when you realize that most people are toxic, most people are walking around unhealed and like projecting their wounds onto others, then you get to a space of like, okay, I see you for who you are and I accept you as who you are, because otherwise you'll just end up with no friends, and that's okay. It's okay to not have friends for a while. At some point you will find your soul fam or whatever you believe in. But yeah, acceptance for other people is also important. Like, you can't, like, because I think when it comes to toxic behaviors or poor behaviors, there's like two different options. Sure, there's many other options. You could also kill them. You could also, there's a lot of things you could do in theory. Not that I'm condoning murder, but it is an option, it is a possibility. But there's like two main options. It's accepting them as they are or walking away. And I feel like a lot of people have a problem with the second one. They're like, that's too much work, because then now I don't have I have one less friend. And it's like, which one is more important, your mental health or like having people around you? You know, and that's not for me to answer. That's just a question for you to answer for yourself and for your spirit to answer. Like, which one is more important, having bills paid or like feeling like a sane human? You know, and I don't know. Once again, a lot of people have a hard time reconciling and like prioritizing what I feel is most important, which is your mind, your body, and your spirit. Like, I have left jobs in the past that were a damage on my spirit, a damage on my psyche. Like, the money was good, some of the people were good, you know, but like overall, like, it was just too much. And I would be lying to myself. I would be dishonest with myself if I were to say that I could stay here. I could be in this environment for long term, like, you know. And it's kind of annoying having that sort of energy, the sort of I'm a walk away sort of energy, because then sometimes I regret it later. I'm like, I wish I didn't do that, but it's like I'm glad that I did, because now I have peace of mind, you know. Like, because this job that I was at, this was like, I think earlier last year. It was a really good job. I enjoyed doing the work, because I'm a worker. And I was talking with somebody, side note, I was talking with somebody recently about like the job market and like how most places are toxic work environments, in the sense that like if you're a good worker and you don't like socialize, you're not trying to make friends, you're not trying to be liked, you will most likely not keep that job. And for me, that's been a big thing. Like, I'm a worker. Like, when I'm at a job, I'm there to work. I'm there to do a job. And I'll do it as pleasantly as I can. I'll try to like be friendly and all that stuff. But I mean, at the end of the day, I'm there to work. I'm there to like clean. I'm there to like whatever it is my job position is. And I don't know, a lot of people have a problem with that. A lot of people are wired to be social and are wired to like be like liked. And I'm like, I never really cared for that. But anyways, this job that I had, I when I first started, I already noticed issues, and I was just like, I was trying so hard to stay balanced, to stay grounded. I would show up, I would meditate before work, get into my zone, get into my flow, and I would drink lots of water. I would drink tea. It was Dunkin' Donuts, by the way. So, you know, there was tea and coffee available. And I would drink tea, I would drink coffee, whatever, stay in my element. But then there were moments, there were things that just like tried to pull out of me like my peace. And I was like, okay, we're not doing that. And so after a while, I just quit. The manager who was over me was actually a coworker from previous Dunkin' Donuts situations. God bless her. I hope she's doing well. I don't know, but she was a tyrant. She was not the best boss. She made it a very toxic work environment, and like, I don't know. I feel like also because we used to be friends or whatever, she kind of felt some sort of way about me, and it was just like, I'm here to work. I'm here to make money. I'm here to like, you know, get my life in order. And I don't know. It's just like, there could also be said something about like empathy and how people lack empathy. You know, it's like, I'm there to make money. I'm there to like, you know, ideally pay my bills. I don't have bills, but like, I'm there to like, you know, whatever reason. And I don't know, I feel like a lot of people once again lack empathy. I'm gonna keep saying it. People lack empathy because it's like, you're at a job, you're there for a reason, right? Whether to pay bills, whether to support your kids, whatever it is, you're there for a reason. Like, most likely you're not just there for fun. And the way that I've heard people, like, because I've had friends who are managers, I've talked to people who are in authority, and a lot of the times the way people talk about like the livelihoods of others, like recently somebody was saying, oh yeah, if it was up to me, I would have just fired them, and I'm like, okay, good power move, bro. He said sarcastically. It's like, did you try talking to them? Did you try like understanding where they were coming from? You know, like, there's a lot of management training that goes on, that can go on. There's a lot of resources that you can get to be a good manager, a good boss. And a lot of those courses, a lot of those trainings involve empathy. You know, if you're not able to like fire someone with empathy, I don't think you're a good boss. If you're not able to look at someone and be like, I'm sorry that I'm firing you, but I have to fire you, like, you're not a good boss. Like, if you get off on like firing someone, you should not be an authority. You can disagree with that. You can feel however you want to feel. You can feel butthurt, but that I believe that so strongly. Like, as a person, like, the most authority that I've ever held in a job situation was where I didn't actually have a title, but I did have the position. Like, I was basically a night manager, and I was training people. I was in charge of like the shift and all that, but I was also like younger, and so they kind of took advantage of that. It was like my first job ever, and they kind of took advantage of that. Once again, Dunkin' Donuts. Yeah. I love the job. I love making coffee. I love connecting with the customers and all that. But I didn't have the position. And once again, like, that was a thing. It was like a whole thing. And once again, side note, if you are a person who's a worker, if you know that you have good work ethic, please be mindful that people will dislike that. People will not like that because they want you to be a people pleaser. They don't want you to be like likable. They want you to be like laughing and kikiing with them and stuff like that. And it's like, we're here for a job. If I happen to like you and the vibes are right, sure, let's have a laugh. But for me to pretend like I give a frick about all that stuff, like, no. But yeah, no, I was technically a manager. I was a shift leader. A key holder is what they called it, which is so stupid. Like, a key, like they call it that when you don't actually have the title of a manager, but it's like basically the same thing. Like, you are a shift leader. And so I would, like, you know, make sure the restaurant was clean before we left at night. And I also have a lot of Virgo on my chart, so I'm a very good cleaner. Like, I don't know, maybe somebody watching might disagree. You might know me personally and be like, oh, he's just a slob. I can be a slob, but also when I get to cleaning, I get to cleaning. Like, I get serious. And so I would do that, and I don't know, it was an experience. Eventually, because that specific Dunkin' Donuts was really terribly run. Like, every few months there was a new manager. Like, every few months. Like, so I always had to deal with, like, new management, new people coming in, and, like, trying to run things differently. And eventually I got fired because, and I think the reason why they fired me, I wish that they had the guts to just be honest, because this is technically that state. I live in a state where it's possible to fire someone for any reason. But they fired me because I think it was one of two things. It was either because of uniform, which would make more sense because nobody wore the proper uniform at that store. But it was either because of uniform or because of tardiness, and I think it was because of tardiness, which was crazy, which is why I knew that it wasn't the actual reason, because I used to be terrified of being late. Like, it was my anxiety, if I could claim it as my anxiety. I don't like that, but it was my anxiety. Like back, if I go back to school, like schooling, like, I hated being late because I hated the idea of having to be like the center of attention. I hated to have to walk through and like have to say something and be like, sorry, I'm late, blah, 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 blah. Like, I'd rather just walk in and like just be invisible and just sit and then absorb the lesson, you know what I mean? But obviously that's not an option for some of us. But you know, that was like kind of where my lack of tardiness stemmed from. Like, it was more so anxiety. Like, I don't want to have to explain why I'm late. I don't want to have to, like, you know, give you a reason or like, you know, anything like that. I'd rather be on time. I'd rather be early, you know. But then also as a shift leader, I would like to be early so that I can like make sure that everything is run properly, make sure that I can like account for what I need to do. Like, you know, I was a darn good employee. And it really sucks that most people prioritize likability over actual work ethic. Like, I don't know, because then people would like get on me like arbitrarily and be like, oh, if you can stand, you can work, or whatever, stupid shit like that. And it's like, you don't see me on these cameras like constantly moving around doing stuff, you know what I mean? I don't know, people are haters. That's really what it boils down to. And I have a feeling the one person who was watching, thank you for your engagement, he said sarcastically, but I do feel like whoever's watching is low-key a hater. Sorry to call you out. It doesn't really matter to call you out, but I definitely feel that energy. But either way, I'm still gonna do what I do. So, yeah. And like, I don't know, one thing I hate about society is like so stupid. It's like, if you know that the world is a crazy place, if you know that the world is a dark place, why would you add to that? Why would you perpetuate that? Why would you just sit around and be like, Oh, okay. Why would you just sit around and be like, oh well, the world's already bad. I'm not gonna add good to it. Like that's kind of silly. It's like be the light you want to see in the world. Thank you for the encouragement. Maybe you're not a hater. I don't know, but I don't know. I sometimes I assume when people don't engage with the content, I'm like, oh, you have to be a hater. But no, I don't understand that so much. Like when you tell somebody that you were wronged and they're just like, well, the world just like that. People are just like that. Like when I was in rehab recently, I told them why I was leaving early because I left early, and it was mostly because people were being really terrible towards me, and almost everybody that I talked to were saying the same thing, like, well, that's what you have to deal with in the real world, and that's very true. There are people in the real world who are like bad people or whatever, because what is good, bad, whatever. But there are people in the world who are not so great. So that's valid, but it's like, but you also have the authority to do something about it in this moment, and it's like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, if you have the authority to do something about it, I think using that authority rather than just being like, oh, well, that's just the way of the world, that's just how it is, would be a better option. But everybody deals with stuff differently, everybody handles things differently. So for me to expect them to do what I would have done in this situation, which was, I don't know, I've never had that much authority, I guess, in this lifetime. So I don't know what I would have done, but I would hope that I would because what I was describing was a very toxic situation. And for me to be in rehab and trying to get my life together, it's like I shouldn't have to be around people like this. You know what I mean? Like in this controlled environment, at least. Like once again, in the real world, you can't force people to behave. You can't force people to act a certain way. But it's like in this facility that you have created to make sure that people detox, and there should be some sort of checks and balances. There was this one dude. I don't like talking shit about people. He had a beautiful singing voice. One positive thing about him. One positive thing. But he was not the best part. He was very insufferable. And I don't know. I didn't have the energy to really speak up the way I wanted to in certain situations. But he would give the counselor such a hard time. Such a hard time. And I wanted so badly to speak up and be like, hey dude, could you shut the fuck up? Could you take that negativity somewhere else? I wanted so badly to say something like that. I didn't. But for us to be in that environment and for people like that to exist and just be able to exist, it was once again acceptance, whatever. But for people to be able to exist in those spaces, it's crazy. You know what I mean? Once again, he had a beautiful singing voice. That was the only redeeming thing that because I never really had a conversation with him. I never talked to him, because I could tell he was an asshole, and I was trying to minimize how many assholes I became friends with, because there were other people that tried to be my friends, and then I didn't necessarily give them what they wanted, and then they turned on me, and it was once again, it became a very toxic situation for me, which is why I left early. I also left because I felt like I needed to come back to social media. But honestly, that was the biggest reason. I was already planning on leaving, but then to add fuel to the fire, people were just being terrible, and I was so annoyed. I was so annoyed. And I could have probably withstanded it, but then I would have felt really weird about being away from these things, being away from my obligations, because I consider this an obligation, being up here and sharing my wisdom, sharing what I know. Because I scheduled some posts. If you kept up with me, I had posts on YouTube and on Patreon for scheduled, but only for a certain time. And so once again, when I went in, I was already planning on leaving at a certain time, but then I left earlier than I was going to, because it's just, you know what I mean? Also, I made a video slightly about it, but the mental health field is so terrible. It's so corrupt. Profit over people is basically what it is. Most of the staff tried to keep me there. They tried to tell me, there was one counselor who was and she was also a medium. So she was, as far as I'm aware, she was connected to the spirits and stuff. So she got it. She understood where I was coming from. But everybody else was trying to convince me to stay. And I knew it was because, like, it's their job. You know, they don't want people to, like, leave. And maybe some of them genuinely cared about me as a person. But, like, I felt like it was just more so because, like, this is your job. And, like, we don't want people leaving early. But it's like, I feel like I handled it properly. I went to the right avenues. I said the right things. Though I did out some people, I did say some names, but I was very clear. I was like, I'm not trying to get anybody kicked out. I'm just trying to protect myself. I'm just trying to, like, go through my recovery. You know what I mean? And it's people like that who really make it difficult for other people to actually do what they need to do, you know? And, like, once again, accepting people as they are is important, but, like, I really don't understand why people just, like, that's just how it is, that's how the world is, that's just how life is. Like, no, it doesn't have to be. Especially if you're aware of that, like, be the light that you want to see. You know that people are assholes, so don't go out of your way to be an asshole. Like, don't just tolerate, you know what I mean? Like, because then so many people stay in jobs that they don't like, that, like, and I say don't like, but a lot of people stay in jobs where they, like, are literally suffering and, like, dying inside, and it's like, you could have so much better if you just didn't accept, if you didn't tolerate, I'll say that, if you didn't tolerate certain things, certain behaviors, you know? And it's easier said than done. It's not, like, the easiest thing to walk away from something toxic. Like, most people drink alcohol. That's a pretty toxic substance, but, like, there are benefits to it. There are reasons why they drink it, you know? Most of us have friends that are not that great, but there are reasons why we have that friend, you know? I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I'm gonna shuffle, see what else I can talk about. I think I'm gonna, like, go for an hour. I'm gonna strive for an hour. That's like 20 more minutes, 18 more minutes. For those joining, I'm just kind of flowing, whatever comes through, whatever makes sense to talk about. If you want to chime in, you're welcome to chime in. If you want to, like, suggest a topic, you can, whatever. We have blame and pride. Oh my God. I accept responsibility for my well-being. I feel like there's this paradox that happens where people want to be in control, but then people don't want to accept the consequences of them having control. You know, it's like, I want to control the narrative of this relationship, but also I don't care, or I'm not going to accept that, like, I'm causing damage in this relationship. You know, it's like a paradox. It's like, you can't have it both ways. You can't be in control, but then also just, like, disregard the fact that, like, your control is also, like, concerning. You know? I hope that makes sense the way I said that, but, like, once again, this is the blame card. I accept responsibility for my well-being, and since it's about self, my well-being, you know, one thing I've witnessed within the mental health field, a lot of people don't preach what they don't practice what they preach. Like, a lot of people will talk about journaling and affirmations and eating healthy, but then they don't do it themselves, and it's, like, understandable. You know, everything is easier said than done. Most things are easier said than done, but, like, I've talked to people in the, like, people of authority in the healthcare system who drink coffee from McDonald's in the morning and, like, just don't take proper care of their body, and then meanwhile they're trying to tell me what I need to put in my body. Like, I talked to this one lady, God bless her, like, she wasn't a bad person, but I tried to talk to her about holistic medications. She did not give me a single second of consideration for that. Like, she was like, I don't even remember how she reacted, but it was kind of funny, like, internally, like, without getting to anger, it was funny, the way she responded, because she was just like, okay, anyways, and I'm like, okay. Meanwhile, she's, like, drinking a McDonald's frappe. I'm like, are you really someone who should be an authority over like what somebody else is putting in their body? You know? But because then I was like trying to get a specific medication prescribed, and she like immediately was like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. And it was like I had done research, like I had somebody print out like stuff for me so I could read about it. So I had done my own research. It wasn't like I was just asking for a random medication. Like as far as I was aware, it made sense that that would be helpful to me. And she was like, no, I don't think that would be useful. And I was like, really, really. And like, I don't know, I try not to get too angry about this stuff because otherwise I'd just always be angry. I would always be upset. But it is very upsetting when people have positions of authority in the healthcare system, the mental health care system, you know, because it's like the blind leading the blind. It's like you don't even actually know what you're talking about. Like I got into like a half argument with somebody the other day because I was just like, a lot of people are in the healthcare system and don't actually know what they're talking about. Like you can go to school and study the body, you can study medicine, you can, but that doesn't actually mean that you know what you're talking about, you know, like, because it takes a certain level of like care to genuinely like, you know what I mean? Like speaking as somebody who doesn't have authority in that position, but it's just like, I don't know, because you can study people all day, but it's like if you're not actually in the field talking with people, it's like, what are you learning? You know what I mean? Because a book only does so much. Like there's a book behind me. Books only do so much if you're not actually experiencing and like applying the knowledge, you know? So that's something to be said, you know? Thank you for those who are here. I do appreciate your presence. We have peace. I am a being of love, and I release all negative energy. I think that's a good stopping point. I think I could like stop here. Maybe, possibly, or I'll stop soon. I said I was gonna go for another 20 minutes to make it an hour. Hey, Ashika, if that's how you say it. Hello. I'm just kind of flowing, just kind of talking about whatever I feel is necessary. If you want to suggest anything, you can suggest. If you want to just hang out, that's cool too. I talked about rejection, I talked about love, I talked about acceptance, self-acceptance specifically. Talked about how toxic the work environments are and stuff, the healthcare system. I talked about a lot of stuff in this. It's going well. Thank you for asking. I appreciate that you asked. I hope you're having a nice evening. If not, I hope you know that it can get better, you know. What else can I say? I don't know. Is there anything else I can say? Like, I feel like I've exhausted myself. I'm gonna write some things down real quick so I can, like... I'm writing stuff down. I have a notebook in front of me. Can we ask a question? Yeah, technically you can do whatever you want because free will is a thing in all situations. But yeah, I am open to answering questions if you have questions. Yeah. That's cool. What's up? What's on your mind? What's on your heart? Also, speaking of heart, this is a book I've been reading recently. I really like this book. I would really recommend this. It's kind of Christian-centered. Like there's Bible verses and stuff, like the Bible verse behind me. This is the same book. Real Life Love. Saying Goodbye to the Fairy Tale and Hello to True Relationships. It's a really good book. But yeah, whenever you want to send that in the chat. I'm gonna, like, once again, I think I'll give it another 11 minutes, 15 minutes, if nothing changes. I don't know. Because I was shooting for an hour, and, like, so I've been on here in almost an hour, so. Remember, there is no such thing as a bad question. Even if you already know the answer, there's no such thing as a bad question. There are certain questions that are bad. Oh, wow. Context. I'm leaving my 9-to-5 job in the end of May. Will probably find something else that makes me money. Do you see me doing financially extremely well in the next few years. I can tune into that if you want. Yeah, I can see. I'm gonna pull from this little cute kawaii deck. Look at this deck, it's so cute. Okay. Infinite Spirit, Holy Spirit, what's up? Is there anything, love of the universe? Is there anything that you can tell me so I can tell this person about money in the next few years, 2 to 4 years? What's going on next 2 to 4 years? Oop. The Page of Wands comes out. So initially I kind of get the idea of like, I don't know, like trying new things, being adventurous, being brave. Maybe you're already that person, maybe not, I don't know, but that's what the Page of Wands talks about. Somebody being adventurous, somebody being energetically fluid, if you will. Let's see, what's going on with finances in the next few years? We have the Hermit, and we have... Okay, so we have the Seven of Pentacles. This is money. I was waiting for something about money to actually come through. We have the Hermit and the Four of Wands. Once again, there's this energy of passion, this energy of like, I feel like maybe you have passion, but it's kind of dormant. Yeah, with the, look how cute this card is though. Look how cute the Hermit is. He's so cute. But I do feel like whatever passions you do have are kind of dormant, and it would be really a good idea for you to like let that out a little bit in regards to making money, in regards to your finances. Obviously you should know your life better than I do. Use discernment with this, you know, pray over this, meditate over this, whatever. But how do you say your name? Ishika? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, courage. I literally was talking about being courageous, being brave. Courage. I find the inner strength to face fear with confidence. We also have pride. Pride. I love myself and I see myself in everyone. I salute the divinity within you. But yeah, there's something about being courageous, being brave, letting your freak flag fly. I think that's a funny phrase people say. Letting your freak flag fly. That's such a silly thing to say. But yeah, that's what I feel for you. That's what I see. That's what I feel, I guess. I don't know. I mean, because I don't know, semantics. I don't know. Seeing, hearing, tasting. You know, technically there's psychic taste. Did you know that? Like, you can taste psychically. You can also, like, I think it's, I can't remember what that one's called, but I can't remember. But there's also, like, the psychic smell. Like, it's possible, like, some people experience psychic phenomena through smell. Like, they smell a certain perfume or certain food or whatever, and it's like, oh, that's a message. You know, I'm not one of those people, I don't think, but that is a thing. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. I hope that was useful to you. If you want a tip, that'd be cool. If not, whatever, but yeah. Okay, so I don't know what else to talk about. I feel like I've talked about everything I could have talked about. So if anybody else wants to ask a question, you're welcome to ask questions. You know, yeah. Ideally, if you want me to go more in depth, if you want me to get, like, you know, you could pay for a reading, whatever. But yeah, I mean, I trust that was useful enough. You know. Also, the Four of Wands also talks about commitment. So I will say that there could be like an element of commitment. I didn't really say that previously, but an element of commitment when it comes to your money, when it comes to your passion. If that resonates. I don't know why I felt the need to add that part, but that is another meaning of the Four of Wands. Passion, dedication, marriage, stuff like that. So, yeah, once again, I'm going to give it another 5 minutes if nobody wants to come in and, you know, say their piece. Hold your peace. Or what is it? Speak now or forever hold your peace. And ultimately, I do hope that this was useful for you. I do hope that this was something, you know. I mean, I know I said a lot of useful things. I just hope that it resonates, and I hope that it reaches the right people. That's what I have to hope for, and wish for, you know. Because otherwise, this was just an hour of me just talking to the void. Yeah. Once again, we talked about love, we talked about acceptance, we talked about rejection. Oh, I didn't write that down. Rejection. We briefly also talked about spiritual maturity, or maturity in general, which I have some videos out where I talked about spiritual maturity. If you search that, I don't know, maybe I'll repost one of those later, but this was fun. I enjoyed doing this. This was nice, I guess. I'm gonna real quick like this. Also, once again, I'm going to do the reminder. I'm going to say I hope that you're taking care of your body. I hope that you're hydrating, feeding your mind, body, spirit, all that stuff. Once again, I was recently at rehab, and, like, you know, when it comes to, like, rehab and, like, the 12 steps, there is a lot of spiritual undertones, and I don't think everybody takes it seriously, but it was definitely nice to be surrounded by that energy. There was also a lot of nature. I was able to, like, lay out in the grass a lot, so that was really cool. But yeah, mind, body, spirit. Like, there was a class that was literally called mind, body, spirit. They also had faith-based, and it was like, once again, most people did not take it seriously, but for me, it was nice to be surrounded by that energy. As I was, like, detoxing, you know, and so I'm, like, on that kick of, like, reminding you guys, like, mind, body, spirit. Like, gotta take care of your mind, gotta take care of your body, beautiful body, and also your spirit, you know, gotta have that trio, the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost, and all that jazz. Otherwise, you might feel like an empty sack of nothing. That was pretty harsh, that was pretty intense to say, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, I'm not a mental health professional, but I do pride myself on being observant, and I definitely observe that a lot of people do not take care of their mind, their body, or their spirit, or, like, one of the other, you know? Like, some people only take care of their body, but then don't take care of their mind or their spirit. Some people only take care of their spirit, but they don't take care of their body. And it does not make for a whole, complete person, you know? And one of my goals is to feel whole and complete on my own. And so I do a lot of, like, reflection. I do a lot of inner work. I do a lot of, like, working on myself because I want to be that person, you know what I mean? And maybe to some of you guys, maybe to some people, I'm already that person. I don't know. I don't think too much about how other people perceive me, but, you know. Anyways, I'm getting closer to that time. I really just wanted to, like, force myself to wait until the entire hour. So we have, like, 35 more seconds left. I guess I could pull one more card, see what comes out. what's going on? What do we have as a final message, please? Honesty and judgment. Honesty. Being honest with ourselves about our progress, being honest with ourselves about our lack of progress. You know, the first step to fixing a problem is realizing that there even is a problem to begin with. And I think that, unfortunately for a lot of people, that's like their first mistake, like trying to pretend like they don't have a problem. Or like, I know for me with my substance abuse, back in the day, I told myself it wasn't a problem for the longest time, and then I had to get real with myself. I had to be like, you know, this is kind of a problem. I'm kind of doing a little bit too much here, and that's how I was able to kind of like pivot and move towards not doing it as much, you know. So yeah, I'm gonna end this here. I'm gonna say deuces. Thank you for those who have been here. Thank you for those who are just joining. If you want to subscribe, you could subscribe. If you want to check out the Patreon, if you want to send me $1 million, that's cool. I hope you have a nice rest of your day. I hope you stay hydrated, and